الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وآتوا اليتامى أموالهم ولا تتبدلوا الخبيث بالطيب لا تأكلوا أموالهم إلى أموالكم إنه كان حوبا كبيرا وإن خفتم ألا تقسطوا في اليتامى فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع فإن خفتم ألا تعدلوا فواحدة أو ما ملكت أيمانكم ذلك أدنى ألا تعولوا وآتوا النساء صدقاتهن نحلة فإن طبن لكم عن شيء منه نفسا فكلوه هنيئا مريئا ولا تأتوا السفهاء أموالكم التي جعل الله لكم قياما وارزقوهم فيها واكسوهم وقولوا لهم قولا معروفا صدق الله العظيم. Inshallah, I'll just be reading the translation of the verses. O mankind, be dutiful to your Lord, who created you from a single person, Adam, and from him, Adam, he created his wife, Hawa, and from them both he created men and women, and fear Allah, through whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the relations off of the womb's kingship. Surely Allah is ever and all watcher over you. And give unto orphans their property, and do not exchange your bad things for their good ones. And devour not their substance by adding it to your substance. Surely this is a great sin. And if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with the orphan girls, then marry other women of your choice, 2 or 3, or 4. But if you fear that you shall not be able to deal justly with them, then only one, or the captives and the slaves that your right hand possess, that is near to prevent you from doing injustice. And give to the woman whom you marry their meher, obligatory bridal money given by the husband to his wife at the time of marriage, with a good heart. But if they, of their own good pleasure, remit any part of it to you, take it and enjoy it, without fear of any harm, as Allah has made it lawful. And give not unto the foolish your property which Allah has made a means of support for you, but feed and clothe them therewith, and speak to them words of kindness and justice.
Jazakallah khair, sister. Inshallah, I know we started a few minutes late, so we're going to move on to the first talk, inshallah. And the first talk is on the advancement of transformative technology and digital education. So I'm going to pass it over to Sister Mahmouda Qureshi from the ISB, who is going to be taking us through this talk, inshallah. Over to you, Sister Mahmouda.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Sarish. Shall I screen share? I can, you might need to unscreen share and then so I can share
Yeah,
mine.
so you can just screen share your slides, inshallah. Yeah.
All right, can you all see this? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can, Sister Mahmouda.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was asked to prepare this talk, I must admit it sounded quite daunting because it's a topic that we've never really spoken much about. But I was telling some of the speakers earlier that I did a talk somewhere else as part of the Labour Party in somewhere in Birmingham. But I was hoping I could get some tips on what to say for this talk today. But that was just quite a short talk. So I have to kind of start from scratch and break down the title that was given to me. So I'm hoping that it's comprehensive for you and it's something that you can relate to. So International Women's Day is an opportunity for us women to actually celebrate our achievements and to be in solidarity with other women and not just with Muslim women. I work so closely with lots of other women of different faith and no faith backgrounds that I think is such an amazing experience to be able to relate to other women, and you realize how much we have in common and how much of challenges that we're facing in different fields of our lives just simply for being women. And sometimes when people don't follow the actual teachings within our own faith, then the rights of women are taken away. And I think it's something that as women, we need to be forthcoming about and be confident enough to actually speak up and ask for those rights that Allah has given us. So it was, you know, I thought I'd just kind of bring that in because I think it's a really good to see that you guys have come up with this topic, which is absolutely brilliant, and to see our young people within the UK Islamic Mission organizing something like this. So yeah, so my topic is advancement of transformative and digital education. So here we are. Now, what is technology? Often we're talking about technology, but you know, sometimes you think the topic is just so vast. It's so vast, and you think which bit is technology or what? But you know, there's things like we have devices such as personal computers, we have tablets, we have tools such as cameras and how you can actually digitize photos that you take. Before we had the other type of cameras that you had to kind of get done. You take photos and then you have to get the film, give the film to the pharmacy, and they'll be able to kind of print it out. But it is such that now it's digitized. You can see it on your computer before you even print it out. And then you've got calculators that are of all sorts of kind of it's so scientific that sometimes it's almost like a computer. You have digital toys that our children and even ourselves sometimes use to kind of get our brain ticking away and do other things as well. There's also, you have systems such as software and apps that we can actually see within our own mobiles. And it's in so many different forms that, you know, it's unbelievable as to how advanced the technology has become over these past couple of 2 decades or so. And then even sometimes I feel when I'm going out, I think, you know, I've got a meeting there, but once I was going to the train station because he was in the city centre, thinking, yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult for me to park the car, so I just go by train. Halfway to the train station, I realized that, oh gosh, I've forgot my mobile phone. Thought, oh, forget it, I'll try to do without my mobile phone. And then I take another couple of steps. I'm thinking, oh, okay, the actual location of this meeting is somewhere I don't know. It's all on my phone. How I'm going to get there, the maps are on my phone. Oh, for me to pay for my ticket, a train ticket to go to the train, go on the train, it's on the mobile phone. And then I couldn't do without it. So we've got so used to having technology around us that it's made life so easier, that often if we are put in a situation where we are without it, we struggle. But sometimes we need a clean break from it as well, which is also quite kind of nice at the thought of just not having anybody to be in contact with, so you can have a clean break. But we can understand that technology has transformed the way we live our lives. Now, there was a time when I was growing up, you know, we'd play outside because we didn't have anything else to play with apart from the little toys here and there. Even toys, you know, we'd make up toys from what we'd find around the house. So, you know, even instead of us going out and play, our children are playing inside the homes on online games. We're on social media. A lot of our time is being spent on there. And sometimes we realize how much of that is taking up our time during the day. And we realize that the time is going so quickly. So even, you know, in terms of how it's transformed our lives, we don't have to go out shopping anymore, though I like to go out shopping. And we can have it delivered to our homes just through the click of a button. We have choice. When I was growing up, we only had choice of about 3 channels, but now we have choice of endless channels on TV, that you know, it's keeping you entertained throughout the whole day, and it kind of shows how much it takes up our time, and it's so easy for us to contact people. You know, before, at one point, a couple of decades, about just 20 odd years back, to phone someone abroad or the family abroad, it would take us about, you know, cost us about £20 just to make a 5-minute call to Pakistan or elsewhere. But now we can call for free. So it's so easy and quick to contact people. We can and speak to people while we're talking, see them while we're talking to them. So, you know, even where we can speak to people wherever we are in the world and not confined to our homes, for us to be able to do that, because telephones were at home on a line before we had the cordless phones. But you can see how technology has made that communication so easy. And we have, you know, at one point, my children used to have a teacher coming home to teach them Arabic, or if they were having tutor lessons, then, you know, they'd come home. But now we even have those lessons online. And then what was more easier for me was the fact that even parents' evenings are online now. And to the extent my children are in study circles online every evening almost. So this is just how much technology has transformed us, that it's a complete different way of life that it's led us to now. So in terms of the value that we give to technology, you know, when we were growing up, we used to use so much papers, and, you know, even to write letters, you know, we'd have to write them, post them, and then get them at the other end. But look at what we can do now. We can literally send text messages, and we don't even need any of those letters anymore. And the speed at which we can actually get things done is absolutely amazing. So this is the value that the technology has brought in. Obviously, it's a completely different discussion on the other flip side of it, where you know, there's lots of time that's being wasted, and, you know, we just want to concentrate on the positives here at the moment. But yeah, even the letters, we don't have to write them anymore. We've got, I can speak to my aunt in Pakistan by just calling her directly, and I can see her, speak to her. She can send photos within seconds after, when her son's married or whatever. So it's so easy for us to kind of be in touch with our loved ones. And for us to share information, it's so easy. You know, before we had to write and photocopy and then send them off. It's so easy just to copy and paste so many times. And the information that we need, it's at our fingertips, literally at our fingertips. Sometimes people might have, you know, you're in a conversation with somebody, and and you think, oh, what is this such and such a thing? What's a star fruit? What does that look like? And you get your mobile out and you think star fruit, and then you go into images and you can see everything there. So that information is at our fingertips, and that's, you know, knowledge is there for us to find out and to make the most of. And it's got to that stage that instead of me going into office, I actually work from home, and I really enjoy working from home. So if people are, I think we've got a talk later on that we'll be talking about how you can do business at home with technology and without you having to go out, which is amazing. So let's see the value that the technology is bringing to us. Now, in terms of women and digital literacy, there's a gender gap in ownership of mobiles. And especially when we look in the UK, women are 10% less likely to own a mobile, not in UK, but in general. And about 197 million few women own a mobile phone than men. And the gender gap is widest in South Asia, where women are 28% less likely than men to own a mobile, and 50% less likely to use mobile internet. Now, they can use a phone to call people and have a chat with them, but to use the internet and to explore the different things, you know, women are 57% less likely to use that. And I can relate to that because you know, from all my own personal examples that I can go into later. But women are 23% less likely than men to use the mobile internet because they use it just for phone calls. So the awareness of mobile internet is growing widely, but remains consistently lower for women. Now, there are completely understandable reasons why this is so. You know, women have children. Having children, it makes them busy, often feel they're not so up to date with the latest advancement. I can say for myself, my degree was in IT, but this was in the early 1990s. But when I actually got married, I had children, and for the first 5 to 7, 8 years, I was completely out of touch with the outside world because my children were so young. And so because the technology is constantly advancing, I couldn't keep up with it. It felt like as if I was learning all from start again, because I had a gap of about 8, 9 years while I was bringing up the children. So I think in that sense, you can understand why there's that lower, you know, take up of women being involved in technology. And there's a wide gap between men and women. I can say for my mum and dad, mum used to use the phone just to make phone calls with people, while my dad was constantly on the phone, you know, talking and doing this and research. I can say the same for my mother and father-in-law. Mother-in-law, I've even been over to teach her how to use her mobile phone that my father-in-law bought for her, but she struggles to use it because she's not in tune, because of, you know, sometimes lack of education as well. And how do you actually start all over again? So there are understandable reasons as to why this gap is quite wide between the men and women. So that leads to women being out of touch with what's happening, as everything these days seems to be happening online. So it's just something to kind of think about. So now, in terms of, now this, for me, this is quite inspirational from because we know as Muslim women the importance of education for women, but that digital education is also very important. Imagine now we're at home. Sometimes it's actually often it's practical for us to be at home and learn. My sister-in-law did a teaching course online, and she did a great job of it, and she did it from the comfort of her own home. So if we put ourselves in such situations where we are using this opportunity, to develop ourselves further, it can save us so much time as well. There's online courses that we can do. And also, if we have that digital literacy as women, and that education, we can be aware of what our children are doing online. And there are mothers who really find out that, oh my God, my child is doing this online. And so they put blocks on there to stop them from going on websites that they shouldn't be going on. So I think, it's so important for us to be aware, whether we like it or not. This is the way that the world is going, and we need to catch up with it. And as women, we should be adaptable. And we can even personalize our learning, educate ourselves on what we have interest in, that we want to, okay, sometimes I think, well, I don't know how to use this app, so maybe I can watch a video online to check how it is, and how to use it. And we've got that opportunity. We do use that for our own benefit, for our own development, and develop those skills that we might have, but sometimes we might get stuck in certain areas that we can build up on. So we've got the opportunity to do that. And overall, I think it will boost our confidence as women to be literate in digital education, and take us to the next level. Because as Muslim women, we should be out there in the community, and on a large scale, to make a change. Why should it just be men? If our children are all grown up, then we have that time, and for us to sit at home and not really develop ourselves shouldn't be an option. It should be that, okay, alhamdulillah, my children are grown up now, they're at universities, or if they're young, obviously you give them the attention, but we need to constantly be learning. We know the Prophet, peace be upon him, encouraged women to go into education. He encouraged them to become doctors and teachers and all this. So it's important that we keep ourselves up to date with all this. And often I find that because there's not enough women out there in the community, we I feel overwhelmed at times, that I want to see Muslim women out there. We tend to be quite shy in terms of, thinking that, oh no, I can't do it, I can't do it. Whereas we might be perfectly capable, but it's that lack of confidence that we have in ourselves. And often, we should throw ourselves in the deep end with the intention of doing good for humanity, because this is what we're here for. And if we have that faith in Allah to take up the challenge and that should take us to the next level. And we can get technology to help us to do that. And I think we need to have that in our minds, that we want to make a positive change, use a technology to help us to do that, develop that confidence in us, to be able to do that. And as Muslim women, we need to be out there playing an active role in society that women played in during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. It feels as if sometimes we've gone backwards within our own community, that if there were women who were ministers in the markets at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, what happened over this time? Alhamdulillah, it's heartening to see that more and more women are out there. But imagine the difference we can make as women if all of us were thinking in that way, that, look, I'm not going to stay stagnant in one position for long. Let's throw myself in that position where I'm learning, where I'm developing my confidence, and I'm out there making a positive change. Because we often talk about dawah and, how we can invite people to Islam, but the best dawah is for us to be out there in issues that are relevant to us as Muslims. For instance, the environment, humanity, looking out for people who are impoverished, in poverty. How are we looking out for those people? How are we looking out for people who are deprived of different things? So it shouldn't just be with Muslims themselves, but online presence can enable us to connect with those people as well. And the way I'm seeing it, and sometimes it is quite depressing to see the way that the society is going, the way the world is falling apart, where, right is seen as wrong and wrong is seen as right. And if we're not out there kind of saying that saying the right thing when it needs to be said, rather than kind of masking it with fake news or whatever. We need to play our part, and it needs more women out there to help our men, because our men are there, they are struggling because there's only so much they can do, but we can play an equal part in supporting them to help enable us to build a better society. And that's with non-Muslims and Muslims. I work a lot more with non-Muslims, and I get heartened to see that, yes, you know, there's some really good people out there that we can be working with, and I am working with. I have a radio show with somebody who's in his 80s, but he's like the age of my dad, but we get on really well. And I knew his wife, and you realize that how lovely these people are, whether they are from their faith or not, but that humanity is what brings us together. So staying at home and not challenging and pushing ourselves by doing nothing shouldn't be an option for us. And look at the history of Islam. You know, the first person to embrace Islam was a woman, Khadija radiallahu anha. First person to die for Islam was a woman, who's Sumayya. The great scholar of Islam was Aisha, and the most loved by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was Fatima, his daughter. The greatest sacrifice for Islam was a woman called Hamza. We've got one here as well. I'm sure she's at that some level as well, at that level as well. And one of the greatest Muslim fighters was a woman called Khawla. Now, these were women in history who played a crucial part in the society at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And this was more than 1400 years back. And this is something that we can get to as well by using the different things that are around for us to make the most of, to help us along. Jazakallah khair. I'll end it here.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Mahmouda. I just want to open it up if anyone's got any questions based on what Sister Mahmouda's gone through, and we'll be happy to take questions. If not, I mean, you can wait till the end, inshallah. I just want to say Jazakallah khair, Sister Mahmouda. I mean, it's amazing to see how much things have changed over the years, and the importance of us moving forward with the times, and how important it is for women to, you know, play these roles in society and to carry on learning and to carry on growing. And inshallah, may Allah make us all amongst these women.
Ameen.
Ameen. If there's no questions,
I think you've got a hand up.
Have I got a hand up? Yes, Sister, unmute yourself and ask your question, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I just want to say it's amazing talk, honestly. Very inspiring. I'm a social worker by profession. And the question being asked in my setting always to me is, why you don't want to go further up? You're a Muslim, because I have other Muslim in their setting. So it's always been encouraged to go forward and represent our culture, our religion, on a higher post. And I always think, like, what's the point? My kids are older, I've done my part and that's it. But today, after listening to this talk, it's literally sadawa, and it's make a connection for me. I have been asking this question to myself, why do I have to go for further studies to go to the higher rank? And it just, I mean, no money, but actually, no, this talk has given me a very different inspiration, honestly. And thank you so much, sister, for doing this talk. It's amazing and very well explained.
Well, thank you. And I think, you know, when I'm talking about doing dawah to people, we're not preaching to people, we're living Islam to people. That is the one that is most effective to people when we interact with people at the time when we're out there. And I feel that way, you know, I've got so many great friends who are Buddhists, Baha'is, Christians, Jews, Sikhs. So it's amazing when you look out in the world out there, how beautiful it is with the people. Thank you for that.
Jazakallah khair, everyone. It's amazing. You know, Sister Saira, I'm so glad that you actually spoke up and you mentioned that point. And it's lovely to see, you know, how we can just coming together and doing talks like this, how we can, like, you know, open each other's minds and how we can encourage each other to, you know, to achieve and to work for higher things, inshallah. I'm going to move on to the next talk, inshallah. I'm going to invite Sister Hansa Ahmed from EMC Denmark, and inshallah she'll be covering the importance of protecting the rights of women and girls in digital spaces. Sister Hansa, over to you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'al li waziran min ahli. So yeah, as Sister just said, I'm going to talk about the importance of protecting the rights of women and girls in digital spaces. So I had a little slide about who I am because most of you don't know me. So I'm just my professional. I'm doing my master's in clinical pharmacy right now, and I'm from Denmark. So my local role is representing DMC, Danish Muslim Center, from the Youth Girls Wing, and my EMC, like the European Muslim Council on the European level. Here I am the Youth Girls Secretary. So I have, so before starting my presentation, I've got this question about what is online grooming, because when we talk about the protection in social media and digital spaces, we got a lot of questions about how are girls not protected, or not just girls, but also just children in general, and teenagers, and then youth also. So the definition of online grooming, if we got to set that at first and stick to that in the rest of the presentation as well, will easily connect to each other. So online grooming is when someone uses the internet to trick, force, or pressure a young person or a younger person into doing something inappropriate. And most of the places on the internet, it was written that it's often doing something inappropriate or in a sexual manner. It can be any grade of sexual manners, of course, but it's in inappropriate way. And it can even be sending naked video or images of themselves because they get that tricked or forced or pressured from an older, not only men, but also women. It can be just an older person to a younger person. So we'll look into the general definition and move forward into the science of grooming, because when we talk about grooming, or we talk about online or digital harassments, you can say, or hacking skills, or anything of those manner, we see that most of the people, or the critical situation, or in the definition itself, we see that most of the young people who get into this situation, they don't really get, or that's actually the talent of this grooming situation, that they don't really get tricked before it's happened. So that's why it is important for us to learn the science of grooming, because then we can maybe stop it earlier for ourselves. So one of the signs of online grooming is that people send lots of messages and start spamming, but in a controlled manner. They ask you to keep conversations secret, so they'll not be they'll not invite you to leak or just flash the secrets or the conversations or messages that they are sending, and they'll try to find out more about you, as in personal informations, address, I don't know, it can be school, university, like in as much personal information as they can, to save it and to use it maybe later into the blackmailing skills. And they start gradually they start sending you sexual messages, and obviously they start very, very indirectly, so you don't really realize that you are getting tricked or pressured. Yeah, and then you end up sharing your personal information, or they ask you again in a mannered way. They are very professional, I guess, so they ask you very indirectly, or they say they need to send something, I don't know what could be, and then they, at the end, or in the worst case, they try to blackmail you if you're not sending, and then you have to, and then you do it, and etc., etc. So these are which signs of online grooming that I found on the internet. I couldn't really. So the problem with this speech, or not a problem, but the obstacle with this speech, a challenge with this speech, was to really find Islamic, references or Quranic verse, because obviously digital spaces didn't exist at that time. But as Sister Mahmouda also did a perspectivation on the past of our Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, or the Sahabiyat at that time. We really need to perspectivate in a beautiful manner, and at the same time we need to look at how you see protection in Islam, or how you see harassment or anything like that in Hadith and Quranic verses. So as for the online grooming, I found this Quranic verse that do not annoy women as to make their lives miserable, and that's what the online grooming is all about. Because for those people who do this online grooming, they make the younger girls, or for our purpose, it's the girls, and they end up making the lives miserable, or vulnerable, and just very sensitive. So that's from the Quranic verse. So where can online grooming happen? And that's also a good question, because when we have the definition of online grooming, and we know what kind of online grooming that exists out there, we need to know where it can happen, as in specific places. So it can be social network websites, it can be instant messaging and live streaming apps, photo sharing apps and sites like Instagram, where I think they initially start seeing a photo and then like stalking and all that, in the chat rooms, direct messages, DMs and all that, dating apps and online gaming apps, where I think I'm not into the online gaming, but I think there are these chat functions and you can text while playing and all that. So these are the 2, 4, 6 most seen places where online grooming can happen. Maybe some of you know any others, but that's why I found that. And also in the photo sharing apps and sites like Instagram, I think we see the Snapchat and and those. I don't know if TikTok is one. I don't actually know where TikTok suits here, but I think it's the third one. So now I got this link where I saw 10 or 8 relevant ways to protect yourself on social media. And if I just take one at a time, so ensure you have a safe connection. So this was actually very relevant, because I found these 8 ways to protect yourself on social media very general, and it's not just for the online grooming, but it's also to protect our informations and our data online. So ensure you have a safe connection is the first way you can make sure and ensure that you have the people around you that you need, that you want, and who you believe and trust the most. So that's the safe connection. It's all the apps and all the social network platforms that you may have. Most of the times, for example, a networking app like LinkedIn, you don't really think much about who you add or who you accept as I think it's connections and not friends in LinkedIn. And maybe I I got to understand that maybe in those apps we also need to protect ourselves a little more, because there is like all our CV and all our experiences in LinkedIn. So that was just an example. But Facebook, Instagram, and all of these, I think even your phone number, and to protect or have a safe connection wherever you can, and just delete all of those you don't really know anymore. The second one is protect your location data. Yeah, it's the navigation system and all that you have in your apps on your phone or smartphone. And then the third one is to check your privacy and security settings. And then I think the best way to do this is just to go through all the apps you have. For example, on Facebook, I remember that most of us who have Facebook and was active before the time, we have many not active, but we saw that Facebook was and much more used app before all this Insta and Snapchat happened. And here I saw, for example, before I started wearing hijab, I had pictures of me without the hijab. And when I just started, initially I didn't delete them. I just went to the setting known as only me or something like that. It's Danish. It's different in Danish. And then I think some months or years later, I just realized that I need to get them deleted from the social media as much as I could. So it's all about going through your privacy and security settings and read through it again, because some of the times maybe in your own mind you have deleted or you have edited your information, but it can be that it is still there. So just go through all of them again. And then the fourth one is to engage responsibility on social media account. I think it's more like that you must just look around and see what you can edit to make it more private. The fifth one is to refrain from sharing personal info online. And then we got back to what kind of personal information do you really want people to know, and which people do you want to know it? Is it all of your networking? Is it all of your Instagram followers or all of your Facebook friends, and so on? And then we have the sixth one, which is engage. Oh, I got to repeat. That's my fault. I'm so sorry. And the seventh one is to screen your friends' requests before accepting them. Yeah, so that's what I said about LinkedIn, that we in LinkedIn we don't really think about actually who the person are. In like we maybe not just know the name and profession and maybe know them from the work or something like that. But in the personal information, more personal apps like Snapchat and Instagram, and I don't know about TikTok as well. I'm not a big TikTok user, but make sure that you know who this person is, and make sure it's the official or right account of that person before accepting the request, or even sending if you are the sender. And the eighth one or the seventh one is be aware of which information about you is public. And that's also what I just said about the Facebook. I know that we have different settings in Facebook. You can have the official one, and you can have this only my friends, and then you have this friends of friends and only me, and customization and all that. So make sure I must realize that even if it's only me or just my friends, then it's still on Facebook. So out there, people might still see these pictures that we have, that is still only me or anything of that. So it obviously you don't really need to, you don't want to delete it, but maybe it's what is required from you. And that's a personal, I think it's a personal choice or personal judgment. So I had a little difficulty with searching for the Islamic view of this in a direct manner. because again, the digital spaces didn't really exist at that time. But if we see in a more perspective way, we see that before like back in the time before Islam came, we know that people buried the girls alive, and we saw that we really, as girls, the girls didn't have so many rights. And from that, I could read out that Islam gives protection in the form of life, first of all. That we know Islam gives us the right to live, and the right to live and to exist as girls, especially. And then the second one is that Islam gives us protection in the form of hijab. We see that we can make all of we can live our dreams wearing hijab and be protected in a different manner than what you are used to see in the society, or in the European. Now we are all in Europe, or you're not in Europe anymore, but in UK you see that we it's not the normalized thing to wear a hijab, but you feel the protection and you start wearing it. And this act should be applied to social media as well, because if you're wearing hijab and still are public, as in not in public, but you still might apply this protection perspective on the social media as well. And that's not only about the hair; it's also about the impersonal information. And if you see the word protection in a different manner, you will see that you must protect yourselves and your information and your family and your data, and really think about what you share and what people should know or might know or will know from you. So before Islam, I had said that. And we see that nowadays, even maybe you see that before, it was very extreme that women were buried alive, and you wouldn't see this badly treated manner now. But nowadays, if we perspectivate again, we see that the same, or more or less the same, is happening on social media, because you still treat people badly, not you, but as in the online grooming situation, for example, you see that people are still treated badly, and it's indirectly, it's not harming, as in physical harming, but it can be mentally harming, and that is my point with this slide, actually, that if we use the social media platforms positively, we can maybe work more productively, and groom ourselves, instead of as in a progressive manner, instead of just destroying ourselves or harm ourselves in a different way. That is the maybe purpose of social media. So it's all about how we use it and how we choose to use the social media platforms and digital spaces. As in Sister Mahmouda also said, that if we need to get the right thing about being on social media, and which view we have on the different platforms, or what kind of time we utilize on what social media platform, and what we actually get out of it. And on that matter, we can maybe change our perspective or change our mindset towards social media. So if we use it positively and not use it to harm each other, and to destroy each other indirectly, we can for sure be more protective as a Muslim, and we can I think we can maybe move forward to actually erase Islam as it was meant to be, via sharing sharing positive information with each other about each other, and on that matter get a little more insight into Islam as well. So that was what I had. Do any of you have any questions?
And Jazakallah khair, Sister Hansa. I don't see any hands raised. I just want to say, I mean, you mentioned some amazing points and the importance of just safety and everything online. There's just so many words to think, there's so much to think about, and just, you know, we need to really think about how we protect ourselves and how we protect our children and our siblings and, you know, people around us. So it's so important to know the importance. We'll just take a quick one from Sister Sadia, who's raised her hand, and then we'll move on, inshallah.
Jazakallah khairan, as Sahrish pointed out, it was really useful, and as Mahmouda pointed out early, that this is a newer topic for our, community as well as our sisters in UKIM. So that's why these topics were selected. I wanted to just add that when Hamza said that we are not seeing those kind of jahiliya things that were in pre-Islamic era, but then we come to new forms of, I would say, just like a phrasing, killing the girls from inside, the matters of low self-esteem and the matters of low self-worth, and how we have heard news on social media that the girls or boys, they just committed suicide because of the cyberbullying. So I think it is quite there, but of course there is a different take to it. So we should all come together to make these social spaces, social media spaces safe for our people. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Sadia, and Jazakallah khair, Sister Hunter, for those thoughtful words and the tips that you've given everyone, inshallah. Inshallah, we're gonna move forward, and we're gonna go into our next talk on digital education and entrepreneurship opportunities for Muslim women. And this is going to be delivered by Sister Hajra Khan, who has completed a 6-year Alima course from Jamia Al Kauthar and also has a BA in Theology and Religious Studies from the University of Nottingham. She runs the weekly halakas covering topics related to Quran commentary and personal development, and she is also a mother of 3 and runs an online business from home. So I'll pass it over to you, Sister Hajra, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm just gonna share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Oh, wa alaikum assalam. Yes, we can see it, sister.
Okay, I'm just gonna enlarge it. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I hope everyone's doing well. Jazakallah khair for the previous 2 speakers as well. It was very, very interesting to look at digital, advancements that have happened, as well as the safety that's needed online. So inshallah, I'm going to be discussing digital education and entrepreneurship opportunities for Muslim women, and how this can be something which we can essentially slowly make a change in society and overall in the ummah as well. I've actually divided, I was toying with the idea of how to actually discuss it, because personally I can tell my personal story, but I feel like that becomes more of I actually wanted to give everyone a blueprint that they can take away, sort of with action points that they can follow, and which is something that is applicable to everyone, inshallah. And if you have any questions, by all means you can ask. And firstly, what I want to start off with is these are in the what I'll be discussing today. These will be 3 points that I'll be discussing. So the goal, the why, and the how. So in terms of any sort of education, so even if, let's say, university education, you're going to start, one of the questions that you would be asking, that what's my goal behind seeking this degree? Why, what's the end game behind over here? What do I want to achieve out of this? And why am I doing it? Why do I think it's important to do this degree rather than anything else? And how will I, usually the how is you go to university, etc. You follow certain routes. So similarly, I want to discuss it from a digital education perspective, and what you learn online, and the avenues that are open online to it. What is your goal behind it? Why are you doing it, and how will you then do it? So I will be discussing all of these step by step. in the talk, inshallah. So firstly, with the goal, I wanted to give a visual. And this is, pretty self-explanatory. This person, he's climbing a ladder to get to his goal. The goal essentially is the word goal. And the ladder is the how. That's how he's going to get to it. Now, the goal is clear. The how is clear. The why is actually, if he gets stuck on his way to his goal, if he feels demotivated, if he gets hurdles along the way, he feels like he doesn't want to continue, then the why is what then gives you that driving force, is what will keep him going. And this is why the why is very relevant as well, along with the how and the goal. Similarly, another image I wanted to share, this is something you may have all seen actually. So it's the image of someone digging and digging for either gold, diamonds, and then they turn away, right? The person with either he doesn't have a why, or he doesn't have a strong enough of a why. He turns away right before he's about to hit the diamonds. And the person who has a very strong why is carrying on and plowing on, despite him actually being quite far from the goal, but because he has a very clear why. And this is just to emphasize the significance of having a very clear-cut why to whatever you plan and seek to go forward with your goal. And I am speaking about this in a bit more theory. I will go on briefly, inshallah, to give a bit of a case study in which I apply these things as well. But I just wanted to break it down, inshallah. So this is a bit of discussion on the goal. And then another part of the goal discussion is usually question is how do you set a goal? How do you set a goal that I want to learn? I want to do something from home. I want to work from home. I want to, learn something. What should be my goal behind it? This is just a general, very broad starting point, perhaps that you could think about. And by all means, feel free to screenshot this if you like. There's this idea of, I put it very broadly, but help entire humanity and serve the ummah. That's obviously a huge, huge goal, and it would have to be broken down into many steps. And there would be a certain way that you would want to achieve this as well. But two things that you would want to think about and consider for yourself individually is, what are you already good at? What skills do you already have? And sit down, think about this. You may already know this about yourself. Perhaps ask your close one, ask your close people that know you well. What do they think you're good at? What naturally do you have, like leadership skills? Do you have teamwork skills? Do you have problem solving? It could also be, academia sort of based skill. Anything really. It doesn't have to be something specific. And also, where is there a need? Now, where do you see a void in the ummah, in humanity? Where is there something that you could come in and fill? And where the two overlap, what you're good at and where there's a need, that's essentially, that would be the one of the it's basically like the bullseye for you then to work in, because you already got the skills and you've got there's a need there as well for you to work in. And the reason why I ask where is there a need is because the society is constantly changing. The needs are constantly evolving as well. What perhaps was a need back, 20 years ago will not be the same need now. There'll be different needs now. So we need to think about these two questions. And when we're thinking about our goal is, what do you want to achieve? And in goal, I'm specifically talking about, digital education and what you want to gain from that, but also the wider goal as well, like what you want to achieve out of life as well. Because this pursuit will take a lot of your a lot of your time. So you really want to know exactly how is that goal allowing you to how is it aligning with your the goal that you want to please Allah and get to Jannah al-Firdaus. And another little point about the goal is that often when people set goals, you will hear them talking about themselves. So they want they want emotional fulfillment, they want financial independence, and so usually they revolve around the self, and then it makes sense to the family as well, that I want all of our family to be financially independent. Very rarely does it extend to friends, community, all of humanity, and the whole of the world. It's very rarely that one person's goal will encompass everyone. I actually wanted to bring attention to this because I want to discuss it in the context of the scarcity and the abundance mindset. So the two different mindsets, they discuss how scarcity mindset is when you're working from a place that there's very less for everyone else, and there's very limited opportunities for you to take. So you think in a very that, oh, I'll just take it and I'll just keep it for myself, and I'm not going to share it with anyone else. And that's the way that you're working from. You always think there's a very less and limited amount. Almost, these sorts of things give mindset to the hoarding. This mindset encourages those sorts of actions as hoarding as well. Abundance mindset is the idea that the world is full of opportunity. There's so much out there for everyone. No one needs to keep anything to themselves. You can share. Everyone can benefit. Everyone can gain, and everyone can learn from this. And this is somewhere where actually even you see this abundance and scarcity mindset is very important for us when we think of ourselves as an entire ummah. That's the value behind it as well for us as Muslims. And also from even in some business examples that have been very successful are the businesses that generally give other people a platform to then make money on their platform. So what I mean by this is you have, for instance, Airbnb. So Airbnb itself, the company, they make money, and also the people who put up their listings on Airbnb, which is essentially, they advertise their, holiday homes, caravans, whatever it is in different countries across the world. Even the people who own those homes, they get an opportunity to actually do a business and make money as well. And Airbnb makes money as well. So both parties are gaining something from it, and they're quite successful. Also Amazon. So Amazon is gaining, and also all the businesses that sell on Amazon are gaining. And then you have other examples as well. eBay, all these essentially platforms, Deliveroo, Uber, just to give you a bit of an idea. And there's that thinking of, we gain and everyone gains, and then actually there's a bigger gain for even the initial people who set it up. So there's that abundance mindset that you don't lose out in helping other people. You actually gain. You gain more. So that was just in terms of the goal and the things to think about when you're setting a goal. And now the why. So, your why. Why are you doing this? This is, so essentially with a goal and a how, you can get started with the pursuit that whatever you want to set out to do. But the why, if that's missing, it'll be very, very difficult to keep on going. And it's your why that keeps you motivated and driven to keep on doing the best. So, like ihsan, the best that you can do. Your why, however strong that why is what will keep you pushing even when things get really, really difficult. And, everyone's life is difficult in some degree. Everyone has their tests that come along. So when you're laying out your why, like, why are you doing this? Your intention, that's essentially, the key to it. And, you could say that, yeah, my intention is for Allah's sake. Why are you doing this for Allah's sake? Just keep on questioning yourself and make it very clear to yourself. Why are you doing this for Allah's sake? What is it that you want to gain? What is it that you want to do? What's your vision? What's the mission behind your vision? What are your values and principles that you hold dear? So it may be that, you really want to eradicate some level of water, the poverty linked to water, or sanitizing water. Something, I'm just giving you an example, but that could be a real value that you hold dear, and that's a driving force behind your why. I know there's another company, IFG, my brother's Islamic Finance Guru. They have their why is help the Ummah, get richer. So it's sometimes for companies that keep very small whys. I guess the smaller it is, it's easier to remember. But just to make it clear to yourself, why are you doing this? And this is important when you're setting goals, along with your how, but also in your day-to-day as well. So this is something that you can think about in your day-to-day life as well. So with your why, after that, we're going to discuss the how. So now that you know what your goal is, you know why that's your goal, we're going to discuss how will you reach your goal in terms of digital education. So now with digital education, I'm actually going to break it up into two. So I'm going to look at it in terms of digital education opportunities and where you can actually, some places where you can gain digital education from. And then also I'm going to then go into the digital entrepreneurial side of it. And I'll explain the difference between the two as well. And then we'll go ahead and do a bit of a case study on that. So Also, just I actually can't see the chat whilst I'm presenting, so if there's any questions or anything, inshallah, I'll look at the end if that's okay. Or if, you can let me know and I'll stop. Just can't see anything else besides the screen. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so digital education opportunities. So this is just a broad, example of the huge spectrum that you can online from home, what you can actually learn. So your goal and your why should not be limited to what perhaps you can do from home, because there's a lot of things you can do from home. You'd be actually be quite surprised. But just an example, you have online university, and that's secular and Islamic. So let's say, just very quickly, let's say your goal is you want to become you want to become an Islamic scholar. Why? Because you want to help the children in your local community learn about Islam. You want to make it clearer to them why they should, how they should practice Islam, and why Islam is such a beautiful religion. And then your how is you come online, because in the local area where you live, there's no there's no like in-person courses that you can go to. So then you come online and you start learning about how, you find a course that can teach you how to learn about Islam and becoming a scholar in that. And then you go ahead and get started. So that's just an example of a goal, a why, and a how. There's many online courses Islamically as well. Khan Academy, Bayana TV, Sunni Path, there's different things. And then also there's other ones such as Udemy, Code Academy, LinkedIn Learning. There's a lot. I mean, this is just an example, just for you to get an idea of what is out there. We have many digital education opportunities that you at your fingertips. Now, similarly, when you go to a university and you do a degree, you seek some sort of education, and then after that you have certain job prospects, certain job opportunities that open to you. In a similar way, it happens online as well. So digitally, you can seek certain education, or you can even seek education in a physical university, but you can have digital job opportunities that open up. And that's what I want to just give an example of next is, what are the online jobs that you can do from home? You can be a web developer, a graphic designer, social media manager, online sales representative, online tutor, freelance writer, online health coach, online translator, data entry specialist. I mean, the list goes on. This is just, a bit of just to give you an idea that what are the opportunities that come from it. Now, the difference between job opportunities and then entrepreneurship opportunities, in a very simple way, if you think of it, there's company at the end of all of these. So social media company, search engine optimization company, data analytics company. So if you were to do a job, then you would be a social media manager perhaps. But if you were to do it more as a business, then you would have an entire company that would encompass a lot more roles, and you would be managing a lot more, a bigger scope, a bigger spectrum of things. And I'm actually going to use, this is Robert Kiyosaki. It's from his book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. And I'm going to use the quadrant that he talks about in his book to explain this idea a bit more. And I want to prefix this by saying this doesn't mean employee is anyway something like low and I is anything high. It's not anything. The way that he's discussing it in his book is to show the way that you can shift from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and how it can be like a growth of your cash flow. And this is why he discusses it in his book as well. I essentially wanted to use it to show and explain the difference between a job and an employee, and then a business and an entrepreneur, that side of things. So employee is when you have a job, you are working for someone, you get paid by someone else, you have a contract that you work with on a fixed salary, on a fixed expectations from you. And self-employed, so that is when you yourself are paying yourself money. So you don't actually have to answer to anyone else. You don't have any expectations set on you by anyone else. You answer to yourself, and you pay yourself money as well. And usually smaller businesses are considered self-employed because they will have a smaller sort of team that they are working with. Now the B type, he says, like the capital B business owner, is when they have an entire system that works for them. So meaning in the sense that they may not be working as much. So 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, they may not be as working as much, but they may be actually, the system may be working for them. And that's something which is the next step from being self-employed. You actually have such a great system that works for you, and you don't need to work as hard for the business to run. And then this is like huge businesses, like you have you could even say like I was thinking of airlines, but like hotel chains, franchises, food companies, all of these things, they have huge systems in place, and this is why they can very easily replicate. So for instance, if you have just an example, if you have a shop open nearby, a brand, I'm just thinking, let me quickly think of, so I don't know, like a KFC store opens close to you, they have a system on how to build that store up from scratch. And that is why they can very easily just replicate it in one city to another city to another city to another country. So this is why it's something that you want to aspire to and have a system, because it's easily you could grow it a lot quicker. And then you have investor, where his money works for you. So you invest money in, and then money is actually working for you, and it's being whatever you've invested is making you more money. So money making money. And this is essentially the idea between the difference between all of the four. And the reason I'm discussing this is because with education, there comes different opportunities. So with education, with the digital education, you could get a job online. And then that could be the stepping stone to you then working for a while and learning the trade, and then trying to go and do it yourself and be self-employed, and then slowly grow from that way. Or you could just jump from education, you learn something and you want to achieve a goal, and you start your own self, you start a business yourself, and you start from scratch and you work your way up. So there's different ways how to get there, but this is just an idea of what you're sort of working towards, and the financial independence. I wanted to share this just sort of for humor as well, but it's something which often when you discuss I think business and working from home and all of this these ideas, people often think that it's just money. That's what it is, and you're not doing much work, you're just chilling out, and there's not much to it. But it's actually the first point I wanted to make is that money should never ever be your why. It's purely a means to get you to your goal. And it's something that you should be using as that, and see it as that as well, because it ebbs and flows. It's not something which it should ever be held in a firm like belief, essentially. The other thing that I wanted to say as well is working digital, like using the digital space and using it to your advantage is something that we should be very grateful to Allah for, and that we have this opportunity. With opportunity also comes responsibility, and we always want to be answering to Allah first and foremost for it as well. And the biggest thing is this is why the why is very important as well. So you don't you stay on the you know exactly why you're doing it, and there's no other distractions that come in. Along with that, I want to discuss a few more things which help me personally with the how, because before I go into that, actually there's this little, so this is I added this in because I just wanted to show how an entrepreneur going on its own path could be, so the appeal behind employees and being an employee, and the reason why it's appealing to people is because you follow a path trodden by many, and you have a fixed salary and a fixed sort of expectation from you. Whereas with an entrepreneur, you're going on a path that's maybe no one's gone on before, maybe some have, but it's something which you'll have to figure out yourself, and you're left alone with it. And this is why sometimes it can be quite daunting. It definitely holds a lot more risk. In the same way, it's a lot more reward potentially as well if it works. So this is just something I wanted to highlight as well. And another few hows that I was discussing about. So, your goal, your why, and the how. So how is, you have education, you have ways to understand how to get to your goal. Also along the way, what helps is a couple of these things that I've put here. So listening to podcasts and also YouTube videos, different things of people who have done similar things to what you're trying to do. Reading books, I mean, that's the huge thing. this was actually one of the first books that I read in terms of like business related things. Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. The cash flow quadrant that I discussed was from this book as well. Now there's self-help books here as well. Atomic Habits, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. They're very very relevant as well for your own development, and that's very important as well to keep your why clear. And the Quran and the Sunnah is here as well because that aligns you once again to why exactly you're doing what you are with business, and the company of people as well. That was to speak to people who are in that same field. And then I just wanted to do like a little case study of this lady. There's a girl. She's called Fatima, and she has 2 children. She's expecting her third, and she decides in 2023 she wants to, in 15 years' time, her goal is. I'm going to talk through these 3. Her goal is to set up an entire publishing house. And the reason why she wants to do it is because she's always been motivated and driven by stories and books, and that's her passion. And that's something that she wants to work towards and make it appealing for, especially she wants to aim at 11 to 16 years old and write fiction books for them with Islamic values. And the how that she's going to do is she's going to first start by researching how to write a book, also how to approach publishing companies. She may do a course on how to become a good writer, different things. She may also research funding as well. In terms of funding, actually, I wanted to mention there's different options online, to get funding to get started. There's actually a competition recently that Islamic Finance Guru is running, and you can have a look at that on their website as well. I found out about it yesterday, so I thought I'd mention it today. And she's doing all of this whilst being a mom and living her busy life. So the question is that how does she now juggle everything? How does she do it all? How does she achieve the balance between it? Because as I said, she has 2 young children. She's expecting her third. So I just want to discuss this at the end, and this is systems. So one of the books that I mentioned previously, Clockwork by Michael Michalowicz, he discusses that in a business sense. But systems, I actually like to break it down even in my housework sense, because I feel like it makes everything a lot more clearer. So you could have, and the way that I'm going to discuss the house first, a system for your house, because then it'll make it clearer when I discuss the business side of it. So if you have days for laundry, cleaning, a day for cleaning, like the bulk of your cleaning. If you have an organizing decluttering method, that's quite, it might be at the end of the day, it might be the 10-second rule, how long it takes you to put it away. If it doesn't take you that long, just put it away where it belongs. Also meal prep, you may sit down on Sunday and think about all the meals for the week. I'll just save you time, save you also money and effort in shopping. And then you know exactly what you're set up. And just a few broad systems which can actually help you a lot with all the housework. And with business side, now how would Fatima achieve that's what she wants to achieve, that I gave you an example of, just a very brief one. She would have to set daily, weekly, monthly goals. She would have to keep aligned with them. Every day she would have to work towards it. She would have to set down at least 1 to 2 hours a day as much as she can give. That would be even better. So perhaps as her children grow older, she can give a bit more time to it. Accountability. She must have a sense of so all these goals that she's setting, she must have some sort of meeting with either herself, with either her spouse, someone else that's an employee that's working with her, to discuss if they're meeting these goals, and also a financial system as well to keep the business going and sustaining it. Inshallah, I'll end the talk here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Jazakallah khair, Sister Hajra. Amazing points, and it's so wonderful to see, how you put everything into systems. There's like lots to learn from there. I've got a hand up by Sister Ifra. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, sister. I think you can just unmute yourself.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa Islam.
I have a question personally. I don't know if it really is relevant to what we're discussing, but I really liked your part. It was very, very useful, particularly the end. Very useful. I wanted to ask, like, if you have like a broad that like you don't know what to do, like you're in a place where you don't know what you want to go into yet as of yet. What do you think are ways to like consider your like the areas that you want to go into, if I'm making any sense?
Yeah, you are. I totally get it. I would actually, like firstly, like what your I would just say perhaps think about what your interests are. And a big thing is a lot of listening to podcasts and reading around if you're not sure, because there are, I mean, I've mentioned a few, but I know there's so much more scope online of anything that you can do. You know, like even like freelance websites like Upwork, etc. So if perhaps you like writing, but you're not sure exactly where you want to take this, you can take it into a direction online and start working as a freelancer, and then see if that can then become a business. So it could, the way that I would say is, read. I don't want to actually, because there's so many actually things that I can just keep on giving. But the main thing is that you read in podcasts and YouTube videos as well. You'll slowly get pushed into a certain direction. You'll start researching things after that. And then inshallah, you know, it'll become as clearer. But start somewhere and just keep on going with it.
You know the online Islamic institutes that you mentioned?
Yeah.
So what exactly do they do? Do you know? Obviously they teach Islam, but do you know how it works? Like,
I actually personally myself don't know how they work, because I did my degree when I did it at the boarding school in Lancaster, Jamia Gowthar. So I don't know how online works, but I do know a few people in my family that are doing it online. And I think you have sessions in the evenings, and that's how it works. And it's essentially over 5-6 years. You have exams. It's very thorough. But it suits people who can't physically go, because obviously, you know, there's a time for going to classes that amount of hours.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Do you know of any places that you can personally attend, like, or like on?
You mean like Islamic courses?
Yeah, like that you can go to.
Yeah, I mean the one that I know, and you know, I would recommend is where I went, which is Jamia Gowthar, but I don't think that's the boarding school. So I don't know if that wouldn't be applicable to everyone, because you know everyone's living in their own cities. I can find out where my sister-in-law does it online and share it with you. I don't know how I would get in touch with you, but
I can leave my details.
Okay, yeah. And then I'll message you then separately, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Can I just also mention, if
Thank
you can also get information from your local youth lead or from your branch as well. Any local UKIM branch, they should be able to provide some information to you as well.
Okay.
Just Jazakallah khair, Sister Hajra. I just want to say a big Jazakallah khair to all three of our speakers today, you know, who all come from amazing backgrounds, and for giving us the time today and to go over the topics. And I feel like it's been so beneficial. So I just want to say Jazakallah khair to Sister Mahmouda. You come from the ISB, which is a like-minded organisation of the UKIM, and where we work towards bringing people towards together and providing services and projects inspired by faith to local communities. And also to Sister Hansa, you know, I know you're a university student and you're from the TMC Youth Sisters in Denmark. And Sister Hajra, you know, all your Muslim entrepreneur tips, and the fact that you are a Muslim entrepreneur and you're from our UKIM North Zone. So Jazakallah khair to all the sisters, and including Sister Haneen, who did the tilawah for us from the UKIM Leeds branch. And before I pass you over to Sister Batul, I just want to let you know of some of the upcoming programs we have happening. So we have the Welcome Ramadan program happening today online, but your local branches might be running them during the week. So we have the Welcome Ramadan program running next Saturday on the 18th. between 11 and 12:15, which will be running online, inshallah. Then we have the Ramadan series, which we will be looking at Surah Nur. That will be running every Saturday and Sunday in Ramadan, and will be running from 11 to 12 p.m. inshallah. So if sisters can try to attend and invite other people to these events, that'll be great, inshallah. Also contact your local branches, and your local branches will also be running other things as well during Ramadan. And if you need any further details, or if you have questions, or if you would like information on anything, just contact your local branch. You've been charged, and inshallah they should be able to provide that for you. Also just follow us on Instagram at UKIM Youth, UKIM Youth Sisters. We're also on TikTok. Reach out to us in any way that is easier for you, and we'll be able to help. If anyone needs any details, just give us a shout, inshallah. I just want to say a big jazakallah here, not only to our speakers, but also to everyone that attended, for taking time out on a Saturday morning, a few weeks before Ramadan. I understand everyone's busy, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all our coming, and everything that we give in His way, may we be rewarded for it abundantly in the hereafter. I just want to conclude on that, and I'm going to pass it over to Sister Batul, who's going to do the dua for us, inshallah. And from there, you can all sign out, and jazakallah khair for attending. So Dr. Batul is from our Cardiff branch, and she's a UKIM Youth Advisor and a member of the UKIM National Da'wah and Outreach team. So I'll say assalamu alaikum from me, and we'll pass it over to Dr. Batul, inshallah.
Alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everyone. Inshallah, I'll just be doing a few concluding remarks, and then I will make dua. So like Sister Sarish was saying, a big thank you to all the speakers and organizers. There's a lot of hard work that happens behind the scenes. And I think today's program was very important in showcasing the work that Muslim women are doing online and in real life, and it is a good opportunity for us to reflect on the progress that we are making as a community. The way that Muslim women nowadays, our achievements are perceived by the modern world. And I think there's a lot of young people here today, and you will learn this as you grow older, that sometimes there's a little bit of a skeptical eye on our achievements, whether they be secular or religious, and whether they be in our personal lives, our homes, or in our communities. A lot of the times that direct link between your achievements and your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not seen. So this is why these platforms are so important, to discuss the things that we've achieved, the things that we are doing, and how it's all from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it gives us an opportunity to speak in a day and age where a lot of people are speaking on our behalf. It's important to show that as Muslim women, we have a space and we have a voice. And actually listening to everyone's talks today, one of the things that popped into my mind was actually in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the women were feeling uncomfortable leaving through the same door as the men. So what happened? First, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the men to wait a little bit at the end of the prayer, to let the women leave first. And then eventually a separate entrance was made. And the reason why I mention this is it's very symbolic, sisters, of that changing of systems and changing of infrastructure for women. This is all a part of our tradition, this adaptation, this going forward mindset within obviously the limits that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set. This is from our traditions, this is from our history. And so I know there's a lot of young women here today, and a lot of young Muslim women today who often feel like they can't. And I know some of the speakers touched upon this as well. You know, there are people who feel like they can't, or that they don't hold weight, or you feel as though unless you assimilate entirely, or perhaps you've been told by modern media that you have to sort of shed your values in order to have wings, or that the world is only going to make room for you if you're palatable. I would say, sisters, and one of the things we've learned in today's sessions is you need to be a leader, not a follower. Don't be crushed by the weight of the world. Hold the world in your hand and make it a better place. And there's a saying about forging our own paths, but alhamdulillah, in Islam it's so much easier. We walk Siratul Mustaqim. This is the path that the righteous people walked upon, that the prophets, may Allah be pleased with them, walked upon. We are walking that same path. And actually, Sister Hajra went into quite a lot of depth about this, and I wanted to just touch upon it as well, that there are a lot of young people here today, and soon you're going to be slightly older, and then you'll have homes of your own, and the base of a strong community is a strong family unit. We live in a very unique time where you can actually build a strong home and you can directly contribute to the community, and it is easier and more accessible than ever because of the technology that we spoke about today. You can have both, and you should do both without neglecting one or the other. So inshallah, I won't go into a lot of detail about the history and the stories of the great women and men who came before us, but from their example, we are inspired. You know, when you look at technology, a decade ago, it started with Muslim women writing poetry and blog entries. And those are still about on the internet today. Sisters, each of you can change the course of history if you allow yourself to. Imagine what those great Muslim women of the past would do if they had the internet as we know it. This is our blessing, the digital space. It gives you the opportunity to be a pioneer. It's very rare that we can do something first, be the first one there. But because of the internet, we can be the pioneers. And there's a lot of information overload online, and some of the sisters actually touched upon it, sort of about protecting ourselves online. And really, it's an overwhelming time as a young person to find your way, because there's a lot of information. There's a lot of awareness on different issues. There's cancel culture. There's movements that spring up daily. And being online means we are exposed to these things. But as Muslims, we are blessed because we have substance. You don't have to go every which way when you're online. And it actually boils down to, and I just wanted to share this particular verse of Surah Al-Ahzab because I think it's very relevant to what we discuss today. إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والسائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما. Indeed, the Muslim men and the Muslim women, the believing men and believing women, the obedient men and obedient women, the truthful men and truthful women, the patient men and patient women, the humble men and humble women, the charitable men and charitable women, the fasting men and fasting women, the men who guard their private parts and the women who do so, and the men who remember Allah often and the women who do so. For them, Allah has prepared forgiveness and a great reward. Sisters, there's all these movements online, but there is no greater matter of substance than Jannah. There's no greater equity, because today we're speaking about women, so we have to speak about equity. And this Jannah mindset, that will keep us focused as Muslim women in the modern world. The whole program was about successful women in the digital world. And that success is Jannah. Your online self, your real world self is entirely attuned to achieving Jannah. Online, the definition of success gets blurred because of brand collabs and adverts and influencers and viral tweets and all the distractions that we find online as well. But success is when we enter Jannah. And that's sort of the crux of today's program, listening to all our speakers today, speaking about their own experiences, speaking about how we can use these online spaces. It's about getting to Jannah, and it's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being pleased with us. That is the goal, that is the destination, and everything we discuss today, that is the means to get there. So I will conclude on that note, and we'll make dua and then conclude the session, inshallah. O Allah, grant us the strength of character and iman to navigate the worlds. O Allah, grant us the ability to use the skills and the resources you have granted us to do goodness. O Allah, allow us to utilize this technology in the best of ways. O Allah, make it easy for us to use our every joint every day the sun rises to give charity. O Allah, grant ease to the young people. Protect their eyes from zina, protect their ears from zina, protect their every limb from zina. O Allah, protect us from those who have evil intentions. O Allah, protect us from harassment. Protect our young people from online grooming and brainwashing. Ya Allah, protect us from the evil that is online and the evil that is in the real world. O Allah, grant us the ability to use our resources to make homes that will be the center from which generations of righteous people will be born. O Allah, grant us the good of this world and the next, and protect us from the punishment of the fire. Ameen, Ya Rabbul Alameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.